Hello there, Mandy here. Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart is not just a podcast. It's also a book, a free online grief group, and a one-on-one private coaching practice. If you are interested in learning more, visit mandykapehart.com to find out how restorative grief can help you heal heart, mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 224, titled Finding Solid Ground After a Shift in Beliefs. How do you navigate life when the faith you grew up with no longer fits? Have you found yourself doubting the beliefs you once held without question? This journey is more than an intellectual exercise or a spiritual adventure. It is a process of grief that engages your whole self. It involves losing the systems, communities, and internal frameworks that once gave us safety, identity, and belonging. When our faith shifts, the ground beneath us moves, and our whole selves feel the tremor. The losses that come with deconstruction go far beyond questions about doctrine. We grieve the sense of certainty we once held, the communities that only welcomed curated versions of ourselves, the roles and labels that told us who we were, and the internalized idea that our worth was tied to right answers. Even our bodies register this loss. Many of us have been taught to distrust our physical sensations, to silence intuition, and to ignore emotions as unreliable or sinful. Over time, this leads to embodied grief, tightness in the chest, constriction in the throat, or a deep unease that is difficult to articulate. I've experienced that many times, trying to live with clarity while not being able to nail down an answer as to why I feel or believe the way I do is exhausting. Sometimes my throat would close right up, leaving me barely able to swallow. The fear of being, quote, wrong became loud, though it wasn't that I needed to be right in the first place. I just needed to be allowed to ask questions and explore what felt right for me. But in those moments, a fear of rejection or judgment can activate our nervous systems to a fight or flight response, locking up our ability to regulate and to maintain connection. And when there is a real threat of judgment or condemnation, our nervous system is right to pull us into safety. But that still doesn't make it feel good or fair. For many people, leaving a faith community feels like a divorce or a profound rupture. It is a sudden recalibration of relationships, routines, and roles that once felt unshakable. The grief that accompanies this transition can be isolating because it is rarely recognized for what it is. It is not just about intellectual disagreement or doctrinal change. It is about losing a foundation that shaped our sense of safety and belonging. In this way, faith deconstruction is also an identity grief. Labels and roles that once fit feel now constrictive, and discovering that our acceptance was conditional can leave us feeling unmoored. As a former worship leader for 16 years, I was also a small group leader, a mentor, and pastor of a monthly church gathering for years. Reckoning with my own changing beliefs meant considering how I would be received in those spaces, if I was received at all. Would I still be allowed to speak up as a trusted voice? Or was I now an unknown entity, despite years of connection and relationship? Losing the trust in those relationships and the sense of belonging we enjoyed is more than uncomfortable, it's devastating. Leaving a group you've long known and loved changes every aspect of your life. What was once a feeling of joy when you ran into someone familiar in the grocery store might become a threat, as you wonder if they'll ask where you're attending church now that you're no longer part of their shared routines. Or in my experience, you'll see people in the grocery store who notice you and then go about their day without a care, turning their heads and trying not to make eye contact. It's interesting because it's not like you've chosen to give up on people. You've simply stopped agreeing about many of your previously shared beliefs and, in the process, needed to remove yourself from those Sunday mornings. It can almost feel like Sunday mornings were the real point of connection rather than the shared depth, intimacy, or friendship. See, the temptation to intellectualize these changes is strong because it creates an illusion of control. By staying in our heads, we can avoid the discomfort of feeling that loss in our bodies and hearts. But with restorative grief, we are asked to lean into the body, to notice where the grief sits and what it asks of us. It asks us to acknowledge the heartache, the loneliness, and the uncertainty, and to allow those feelings to move through us rather than around us. Part of this work involves learning to take up space again. Many of us have been taught that our voices are unsafe or that expressing ourselves fully is risky. A slippery slope, you might say, because speaking with authenticity, even when it risks disagreement or correction, is still a radical act of reclamation, which can scare people in power. It teaches us that safety can exist even in vulnerability, and that belonging can be cultivated through honesty rather than conformity. Beginning to trust your own voice again starts with reconnecting to your values. If communal care is central to what you believe, consider how you can act from that value even while grieving the community you've lost. You learn through action, listening deeply to others, participating in spaces where care is practiced consistently, or engaging in service. This might not be another church service. It could be volunteering with at-risk youth, spending time in a memory care facility, or supporting a local community project. When you embody your values through action, your voice naturally gains conviction and confidence. Speaking from this grounded place allows you to express your beliefs authentically, even after the disruption of reevaluating what you once held as truth. Restorative grief is not about returning to what was or pretending our losses do not exist. It is about integrating our experiences into a new reality where we can fully exist, honestly. Restoration begins with acknowledging the truth of our current lives. Our faith has shifted, our relationships have changed, and our sense of belonging may look different than it once did. This is not a failure. It is an invitation to build a foundation rooted in reality, truth, and embodiment rather than assumption or obligation. For anyone navigating this process, the path forward is not about rushing towards certainty or recreating a belief system overnight. It is about naming your losses, allowing the body and the heart to feel what has been lost, practicing authentic voice in safe spaces, and seeking relationships where belonging does not require compromise. It is about giving faith the space to contract, expand, evolve, or to rest without judgment. Deconstruction is not a rejection of faith itself. It is a refusal to settle for illusions. When we engage with restorative grief, we create space for honesty in our faith, groundedness, and hope that is real and resilient. We learn that even in the midst of loss, we can build a life that is deeply and fully our own. If you are walking this path, one way I offer support through losses or changes in faith is through my book, Restorative Grief, Embracing Our Losses Without Losing Ourselves. It was designed to be a companion for daily reflection and a place to explore your experience through the lens of grief literacy and deconstructed Christian faith. You can approach it in small, meditative moments, reading just a section, journaling, or simply sitting with the ideas. My hope is that it provides practical tools, gentle guidance, and permission to honor your whole self as you navigate change, loss, and the search for truth in your life. I also hope my book and all the work of restorative grief can serve as a soft place to land and a daily companion, reminding you that it is possible to rebuild trust in yourself and your voice, even as your belief and your world changes. Thank you for listening to episode 224 of Restorative Grief. Changes to our beliefs and our sense of self are just as convoluted as any other grief experience when we are disconnected from what truly matters to us. That which matters is also that which grounds us in the process of healing and growth work. So yeah, you can say that grief and deconstruction of our faith and beliefs go hand in hand. If you're interested in learning more about my book, Restorative Grief, Embracing Our Losses Without Losing Ourselves, you can read the first chapter for free on Amazon. There's a link in the show notes so you can find it easily. If this episode resonated with you, I do hope you'll subscribe, leave a review, and consider becoming a patron to support the work financially. In doing so, you'll gain access to monthly bonus episodes and weekly reflective workbooks to accompany each episode. Thank you to all of my past and present patrons. Your support keeps this work going. And as always, before we go, one last thing. Please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.